Great afternoon. Welcome to our virtual Landlord Consortium. My name is Harry Mack. I'm the Director of HousingCLT, a program that is operated by Socialserve. Thank you so much for joining us on this Giving Tuesday. Today, our focus is providing you, the landlord community, with resources and information to assist both future and current renters. Before we get into the logistics of today, I want to tell you more about the work of HousingCLT. While Socialserve works to connect people to housing throughout the country, our HousingCLT program enables us to directly serve the residents of Charlotte. HousingCLT was birthed to meet a distinct housing need identified by a variety of leaders in Charlotte, a local landlord consortium that would expand access to housing for people currently experiencing homelessness. This program removes barriers that keep an underserved population from finding adequate housing, and success has created stability for many Charlotte residents. We collaborate with several partnering agencies, Charlotte Family Housing and Community Link. Both of these agencies assist families with the 1 to 2 year rental subsidy while providing supportive services, financial counseling, and home ownership. Roof Above, once known as Urban Ministries and the Men's Shelter, now has become one. They seek to assist those persons in need of emergency shelter and connect them to housing. Salvation Army Center of Hope, a homeless shelter that provides emergency shelter for women and children. The Relatives is a system of resources that helps young adults find shelter and support. Crisis Assistance Ministries is an agency that provides assistance, advocacy for people in financial crisis, helping them move towards self-sufficiency. Supportive Housing Communities seeks to alleviate homelessness and human suffering. Supportive Housing Communities primarily serves those that are chronically homeless. The Housing Partnership is one of North Carolina's leading affordable housing organizations serving low and moderate income individuals, families, and communities through real estate development, home ownership education, and financing, and neighborhood revitalization. Also, you will hear from Mark Etheridge with Accent Capital. Mark will share information about our newest project with Lake Mist Apartments and how HousingCLT is leading to provide more affordable housing for our neighbors. I'm excited that we have a team of skilled housing leaders today that will be on our panel. They are Deronda Metz of the Salvation Army, Stephen McQueen from Roof Above, and Erin Barbie from the Housing Partnership. Our panel discussion will be led by award-winning news anchor Erica Bryant from WSLC-TV. For those of you who may have some questions during this panel discussion, please put them in the chat and we will try to answer those live. Again, thank you for joining us on this Giving Tuesday. Here's a message from our mayor, Vi Lyles.
Thank you for joining us today to learn about how we are overcoming the challenges this pandemic is presenting for renters and housing providers. It's imperative that we share information and strategies to minimize the negative impacts on our neighbors and businesses. Today, you'll hear about our community's efforts to support renters in retaining housing and ensuring property providers receive enough rental income. You'll also hear about work underway to allow more of our neighbors access to stable and affordable housing. Several local organizations that have been instrumental in helping those at risk of losing housing and those who have already lost housing are eager to discuss how they streamline their approach and minimize the burden placed upon housing providers that want to help. There are significant new resources coming to our community to assist homeless neighbors with rent and supportive services. These resources will ensure success and stability as they re-enter housing and will support housing providers who choose to help. The strategies and resources you will hear about today represent a new phase in Charlotte's commitment to help those in need to access and maintain housing. Please consider being a part of this unprecedented collaboration with some of our most dedicated housing providers. Thank you so much for all you're doing to support our residents and neighbors.
Thank you, Mayor Lyles. In July of 2020, there were approximately 2,782 people in the Charlotte area experiencing homelessness. Now, this number includes families and singles. With so many students currently being homeschooled, most hotels and shelters don't have access to internet services nor the privacy or the space that's needed for remote learning. And your help today is vital to assist a family with a place to call home. Right now, I'd like to introduce Mecklenburg County Chair of Board of County Commissioners, George Dunlap.
Thank you, Erica. I'm George Dunlap, Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, and I'm here today to ask for your help. HousingCLT has received funding from Mecklenburg County to hire 2 housing navigators who will assist those who are finding themselves in challenging situations as it relates to finding a home. This partnership enables the county to do their part in helping to fight homelessness. There is a need in Mecklenburg and in Charlotte to have safe and affordable housing. Thank you for attending today's Landlord Consortium. With your help, we can all work together to make housing affordable and safe for all of our citizens in need. Thank you.
I first heard of Charlotte HousingCLT through the GCAA Government Affairs. I feel like whenever we started partnering with them, it helped us grow and it helped them grow as well.
I think the organization goes beyond the call of duty in terms of helping individuals. Not only with budgeting and finance, they take a personal interest in the client. And that's what a lot of times is missing.
Affordable housing is an actual need in the city of Charlotte right now, and it's becoming very stressful for our Charlotteans to actually live in Charlotte.
Anybody has an opportunity to make a mistake. My thing is that you should always give an individual a second chance.
A lot of times people are displaced from their home because they may be going through an illness, a loss of employment, or a change in marital status. As a landlord, there's no other joy than to be able to provide families in need with an affordable, safe, clean place to call home.
Thanks to those landlords for those testimonials. Prior to the pandemic, communities were already addressing the pre-existing conditions of housing instability and homelessness. Now, these communities like Charlotte-Mecklenburg are also grappling with how to plan for what lies on the horizon. How many more households will become homeless as a result of COVID-19? What resources are necessary to try to prevent this from happening? And how do we prioritize these resources upstream and downstream? Today, we hope to give you a glimpse of what you can expect as a landlord during this time. I'd like to introduce our panel again. Deronda Metz from the Salvation Army, Stephen McQueen from Roof Above, and Aaron Barbie from the Housing Partnership. I'd like to start with some questions now. First to you, Aaron. Can you share with us about RAMP CLT? Give us updates about where things stand currently.
Erica, thank you so much. I'm happy to talk about RAMP CLT. RAMP CLT stands for Rent and Mortgage Payments Charlotte. This is a partnership between Socialserve and the Housing Partnership in order to address the devastation that COVID-19 had on those who had job loss and as a result couldn't pay their rent or mortgage or hotel or possibly utilities. Before I share about what's happening right now, I think it's important to take a look back at the lifetime of the program and to tell you where we've come. So back in March of 2020, the United Way COVID Relief Fund gave the seed money for RAMP CLT to be started in the amount of $500,000. Shortly after that, we saw that this need was not going away. We saw that more people were being negatively impacted by the loss of jobs or illness. And the city of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and the state of North Carolina now have stepped up in order to address these needs. The city of Charlotte has come forth throughout the lifetime of this program with $18 million straight to renters. Additionally, Mecklenburg County came forward with $2.7 million. And most recently, the state came forward with $7 million for the HOPE program that we're also administering. That's a total of $28.8 million that has become available and utilized for rent, mortgage, hotel, and utility assistance. As it stands today, we have over 1,600 properties that are participating in the program, and we've received over 19,000 applications. While that number may seem large, I am sure that it only scratches the surface of need for those that could quite possibly no longer have stable housing. Though we got 19,000 applications for the RAMP CLT program, we received over 25,000 applications for the HOPE program through the state. The largest amount of those applications came forward in between August and October, and we saw over 4,000 applications in October alone. In the beginning, we saw tenants that needed assistance because of job loss, which was natural because that's what COVID-19 impacted at first. But then we saw the need shift to assistance because of illness. And then we saw it shift again that people needed assistance because they needed to stay home with their children and not work because they needed to do homeschooling. So, having said that, I'm sure most people are most interested in where are we right now. So all but 2.2 million of those dollars that I mentioned has to be utilized before the end of the year, which means that we are pushing hard in order to get through as many applications as possible. Of that $28.8 million that was allocated, we've exhausted $24 million, leaving us $4 million to push out during the month of December. Here's what we know, and here's what I'll end with. The demand is much higher than the resources. We ask that our landlords partner with the tenants to ensure that they complete their application, get it in before the application process closes in December, and to properly submit the documentation. This will help greatly as we get through these high numbers of applications. Our goal is to use every penny to assist our renters. Thank you.
Wow, Erin, that is a lot to digest, and it really lays out how critical this program is and the timeline that we're dealing with. So next, I'd like to pose a question to you, Deronda and Stephen. I'd like both of you to answer this, with Deronda, you going first. Why is this event so necessary at this time?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Erica. And people that know me know that I am very excited for to have this event because we need housing. So the Salvation Army, a lot of people know us as that homeless provider, always on the front line trying to respond to the needs of women and children in this community. And COVID presented some extra challenges. But I have to say, when the pandemic hit, in March and we started reacting, we had about 400 people in the shelter. And now we're serving about 450 people. But that number could have been so much higher had we not had an opportunity to move people out of the shelter into housing. But we need more. We need more property managers, or we're going to continue to experience this housing and homeless crisis. So I have to pause and say thank you for all of those property managers that have helped us. I'll always say, and please trust me, we don't have an endless pot of money, but I'll always say if we had units available, how much space we could make available now in our sheltering program, because every single day in this community, we turn women and children and men away because we don't have enough shelter capacity. What is the solution? Is housing. So this is why this event is very helpful. It's helpful for us now to make sure that we're getting people out of homelessness. And as we go into 2020, 2021, with so many unknowns for so many people, one thing we know for sure is that if we can get people into housing, that will definitely help ease this crisis. So thank you for that question.
Stephen, same question to you about why this event is so critical right now.
Yes, thank you, Erica. Housing, homelessness, and finding housing is always very difficult and hard, particularly when we're all competing for those same places that are suitable for our population, either single adults or families. So we're really in the competition. But I'd like to say before the pandemic of COVID-19, there was a pandemic of homelessness, and it's ongoing and it's life-saving. And so we really need the landlords to be there for us. We have a great number of them who are constantly calling us when they have availability, and we need more. We need more because we just don't have enough. We have funding coming in for housing now. We have new pots of funding coming in that we can then go ahead and subsidize. But we need those units available so that people can actually move in. And HousingCLT is a great resource and a backup to everything that we offer as a program. They offer even more to the landlords than we can bring. So it's a really great partnership.
My next question to you again, Deronda. I know that you've worked in this space for decades, literally, and this time is like no other for so many. But who are you finding to be the most impacted by COVID-19 in terms of homelessness right now?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Erica. I thought I knew who the homeless were in Charlotte because we are constantly getting those phone calls and having people constantly come to our door looking for shelter. However, what we discovered is that there are a couple of thousand of households that are living in hotels. Who were they homeless? You know, they were working households that were paying hotel rent, couldn't get into housing because of barriers, whether it was evictions or needing a second chance to get into a unit. But we discovered all of these families. And so when COVID hit and these families were not working and couldn't pay their hotel, you know, thank goodness for agencies like Crisis Assistance Ministry and Ramp CLT that stepped in to help these families. And so this is another whole segment of the population that are homeless. And we hear CMS talk about it all the time, about the students that come to school that really don't have a stable place to call home. So we discovered this other whole population of people that need our support and trying to support those families as well.
Stephen and Deronda, thank you both for answering those questions. And I know we've covered in our newscast as well some people who've never needed assistance before who did have a home but have lost it over the course of this time because of job losses and layoffs during COVID. Aaron, I'd like to go back now to you with a question about the Tenants Toolkit. It's a new resource available. Can you share with our viewers more about that?
Absolutely, and thank you for that question, Erica. You're actually quite connected to the Tenant Toolkit because it is your voice that we hear. I'm happy to share this information with you all. Through the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, an eviction prevention working group was created back in 2019 in order to address eviction challenges that tenants were facing. Little did we know that we'd be going into COVID-19 pandemic where we would see that escalate significantly, but this toolkit has become extremely vital. So it was released and it's live now, and people can access it at the tenantstoolkit.com. Inside that toolkit, it's a podcast, and you'll hear Erica Bryant's voice telling you about tenant rights, the eviction process, rental contracts, how to deal with housing subsidies, and financial literacy, and much more. We encourage landlords to provide this resource to their tenants so that they can inform themselves and ultimately protect themselves from eviction and stay successfully housed. Thank you, Erica.
Yes, I was honored to be a part of it and learned so much about having this tool, a podcast that people can access on their phones, because I've learned that a lot of times if people don't have housing, you know, they have made sure that if they keep one thing, it's their access to a cell phone and a way to communicate, to find out about jobs and to find about other tools and resources. So honored to be a part of the Tenants Toolkit podcast. Deronda, I'd like to direct the next question to you. We have a lot of people hopefully watching who have properties that they own. Maybe they've rented those out before, but haven't really considered doing so through a process through some of these agencies. So how can these housing providers join in and really get involved and do something good right now to help us in the midst of this housing crisis?
Yeah, so I'm going to direct them to Socialserve. Contact socialserve.com. And I could just tell you that this is when we talk about this as being a solution to the crisis that we're facing today and anticipating facing tomorrow, this will be able to be helpful. That next available unit that you have, maybe take a chance and I know there's so much need, but maybe set aside a unit or two for our programs. We have lots of incentives to be involved. And if you want to learn more, reach out to Socialserve. They have really been so instrumental in us already getting property managers. So hopefully, I'll let Socialserve maybe answer some more questions. But I do think it's an opportunity for the property manager as well as for the families that we serve.
Thank you, Deronda. Next question goes back to Stephen. How does it benefit a landlord to be able to connect with a program that offers a rental subsidy?
There are so many benefits. I'll just name a few. One is you get this subsidy is guaranteed rent. You don't have to figure out, oh, am I going to get my rent paid this month? The subsidy is paid every month by one of the agencies, Socialserve or wherever the funding is coming from, and it's there and it's paid on time. So that's one of the biggest benefits, is that you don't have to worry about your rent roll for our tenants. It's going to be there for you. Another one is that, we really help our tenants, and we're there for them. And when some tenants struggle, and we have some that do, we're there to help them. And so if it's not working out at a property, we can help avoid eviction. We can help the tenant find another place so that you don't have to go through that eviction process. And we certainly don't want the eviction on the tenant's background. And we have been very successful in having tenants move on to other locations so that you do not have to, if it's not working out, we have another solution. And then a last one I'll mention is also we have come with case management, whether it's short term or long term. We have somebody else that's there to call for help. You have someone, if a tenant is having some sort of issue, you don't just have the tenant and say that's it. You have somebody that's there to work with them and be there for them and advocate for them and help them and get them to agree and be a good tenant and abide by the rules of your lease. So we're there for them constantly. So those are three, I think, that really the landlords can really rely on us to be sure that they're getting their rent, that they will not have to go through evictions. And we're there as a backup for them to anytime, or even the first person to call before you call the tenant to get help.
Excellent, excellent. Deronda, I'd also like to go back to you as well to share really some of the incentives for landlords to rent to our families and why they should connect with a housing program. So for landlords, they can also not only be guaranteed that they will get that rent and that renters will have the supportive services, but there are some incentives for them as a landlord as well.
Yeah, Erica, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to this. So, in case you don't know, there are signing bonuses that are available. Stephen already talked about it. We have support services for the tenants. So, we're not just putting people in the house, and we're there to support them because sometimes there's a transitional period. Stephen talked about this as well, guaranteed rental subsidy. Um, this is something many of you may not know about. We assist with repair costs for inspections if needed. Once again, those inspections can be a 2 to 3 day turnaround. And I think this is something that property managers probably really like, and I think it's needed, is their holding fees. So while that unit is offline, you're not just losing money. So I think other than helping people that are homeless, which is huge, um, a lot of great incentives for you to get involved as well. So thank you for allowing me to speak to that.
Absolutely. It's important for landlords to know that they are not only doing something good for our community, they will also receive some incentives and benefits as well for them and their properties. I'd like to take now a few questions from our audience, those people who've been watching and listening in. The first question goes to Stephen. Once a person is approved for housing, how long does it take for that inspection to be completed of the property? Deronda spoke a little bit to this, but can you expand on that for us?
Sure. Yes. Yes. Again, as Duranda said, it is a 2 to 3 day turnaround. We have access to inspectors who can be out as soon as, sometimes 24 hours, but no more than 3 days will that take. And that's the same thing for the payments. When you're ready to sign the lease, the checks are there. There's no need to wait for all that to process. We can get cut checks in generally 2 to 3 days as well and have them ready for the lease signing. So we really cut that time down with most of our subsidies.
Back to you, Duranda, a question. I'm a landlord and I have a couple of properties. I have a 3-bedroom, a 1.5-bath home that does not fall in the FMR. Are there any other options if I wanted to work with your program? So first, define FMR and the options if this person would still want to work with the program.
Yeah, so FMR is the fair market value of a home. And so, and you know, a lot of properties in Charlotte don't fit it anymore. And so, and basically it tries to really stay within that being that 30% within your income. So the answer to that question is yes. We are very fortunate to have public and private dollars, mostly public, but we do have some private dollars, and we also have families that could afford to live outside of the FMR. Now, what we do is that we budget our subsidies, and so we try to select or match families that can afford to pay that extra. And of course, we want them to be able to sustain in their unit. So if you have units and you have a question about the FMR and you may be out of that price range, we still may be able to work with you. So give us a chance. So thank you.
Okay. Another question, Aaron, to you. Someone's watching. They have rental property and they want to participate. They want to help. What do they need to do? Who do they reach out to?
Yeah, so they can start with the RAMP CLT site. That's rampclt.com. Again, that's led by the Housing Partnership and Socialserve, and they're certainly welcome to reach out to us through those avenues. On the RAMP CLT site, there's a page that says contact us, and they can email us, and I see all of the emails that come in, and so I'll be able to help and answer the questions and help people get to participate in the program.
And then what can we expect going into 2021? A lot of people are ready to put 2020 behind us because we've all experienced so much, especially our homeless neighbors. So what can we expect, Aaron, going into next year?
Aren't we all ready to start over again, right? We're looking forward to January 1st. I think first and foremost, as Stephen and Duranda have already stated, what is really important is that we give more access to housing and specifically affordable housing. And through that partnership with HousingCLT, that can be possible. So I urge all of the landlords who are participating today and those who hear about this to partner with HousingCLT. Now, for those that are currently housed, 2021 feels slightly unknown. We don't know we do know that the eviction moratorium is going to be lifted at the end of this year. We don't know if we're going to receive any more stimulus funds, and we don't know how the government is going to help both tenants and renters in 2021. But we do know that we have two things that we can offer, which I already spoke about, the eviction podcast, so that people can be well informed about the programs and how to help themselves and how landlords can help them going forward. But also, I mentioned that $2.2 million doesn't have to be spent by the end of the year. And the city of Charlotte had the foresight to put some money aside to be available in 2021 as an additional safety net for renters who are still experiencing a hardship due to COVID. I'm very thankful for the city of Charlotte to have thought this way because, again, we don't know what's going to become available. And so our goal is to continue to keep people successfully housed. They can look for a new application to be available in January on the RAMP CLT site. So access to housing and ensuring that people go to the RAMP CLT site so that we can continue to keep people successfully housed. Erica, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for those watching who have rental properties, we are hoping that you have taken a lot from this, from our speakers and panelists today, and that you will really think about doing something not only great for our community, but just front of the holidays, what a great gift to be able to give a family or a single person to help them with housing during this time. So I'd like to thank Deronda Metz, Director of Social Services at the Salvation Army of Greater Charlotte, Stephen McQueen with Housing Roof Above, and Aaron Barbie, Charlotte Housing Partnership. Thanks to all of you. Now I'd like to introduce our next panelist, Mark Etheridge with Ascent Real Estate Capital. We thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we're hoping that you can first share with us about this new project at Lake Mist Apartments.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. It's good to be with you and appreciate your collaboration on this event. I think nothing could be more important, especially given the times we're in. Ascent, as a landlord, has housed tenants that are supported by a variety of rental subsidy and voucher programs in the past, and couldn't be a bigger advocate for that. Our latest acquisition, Lake Mist Apartments, is 144 units and is naturally occurring affordable housing. So it's an apartment complex that was built in the 1980s, has traditionally been affordable, but is vulnerable to no longer being that due to the rent growth that Charlotte's experiencing and the location of this property right next to a light rail station. And so our intent is to buy it and place a long-term deed restriction on it that makes sure that every tenant that moves in the future is going to be have a rent that's affordable to their income, and that those incomes will be somewhere between 30 and 80% of AMI. An innovative tool that we brought into Lake Mist that is the first of its kind in many ways was a rental subsidy program that we've orchestrated in coordination with both Mecklenburg County, the City of Charlotte, and Socialserve. And what that does is it basically creates a new rental subsidy program financed by property taxes that Socialserve receives and can pair up with tenants who are at 30% AMI below to move and live in our property. This is different from what we've done in the past because while we've accepted a variety of voucher programs, there's many great programs out there. We wanted to find a way to do more to expand greater access for 30% AMI families to get to rental assistance. And so we found a creative way with the county and the city and Socialserve to do that here.
Well, I know that all of us as a community, we're appreciative of this opportunity because we know there's less and less land available in and around the Charlotte area. So it's critical that this naturally occurring affordable housing opportunity is there. This is a deed that will be 20 years plus that will ensure that this property will be continuing to be for affordable housing.
That's correct. Yeah. So the nice thing about this is it's benefit both to existing residents as well as future residents. And so the day we buy the property, this deed restriction will be put in place, and it'll set limits on the rents that we can collect, and it'll also define income levels for the tenants that we move in the future. Our existing residents will benefit not only from the improvements we make to the property, but also to see their rents fall in line with those new asking rents as they fall under those affordable thresholds. And so what makes me most excited about NOAA preservation and the work that our firm has done, and groups like the Housing Partnership and Roof Above, who have both acquired NOAAs in the last couple of years, is that we take these assets that are in great neighborhoods that are experiencing a lot of change, and we make sure that the folks who have historically lived there can continue to live there. We make sure that residents who move in over time are going to enjoy the same affordable benefits that these properties have conveyed for many years.
I know that a lot of the funding is going to be used to improve the property so that people have nice homes to live in, nice apartment units, repairing lighting, the heating, air units, et cetera, appliances and all of that. How soon will the property be available or ready for move-in?
Yeah, thank you. So we hope to close in the next few days. You can probably tell how that closing has worn on me as of recent. But as soon as we take ownership of the property, we'll begin to make improvements. And then every lease that we sign at the property in the future will fall under our new affordability requirements. This new program that we have with Socialserve will get unveiled over the next couple of weeks as we set it up. And we should have a unit available for them to lease our first tenant to through that program at the beginning part of next year. So we're really excited to see that happen.
Okay. So people could begin to apply in early 2020?
That's right. Early 2021, Socialserve will be fielding tenants and matching them up with this rental subsidy program. Socialserve will work in coordination with our property manager to get a lease application in and have tenants ultimately move into the property.
Okay, and do they apply directly to Lake Mist or through Socialserve, or how do they apply?
That's right. So for this 30% AMI specific rental subsidy program, tenants would work with Socialserve to find access to the property. For the rest of our affordability requirements, which includes 60%, 50%, and 80% AMI, they can come directly to the property. Of course, if someone comes to our property management team at Lake Mist and they meet that 30% AMI criteria, we can make sure to refer back to Socialserve to get them enrolled in that program to be eligible to lease the property. So it can work both ways.
Mark, is there anything further that you'd like to make sure that we share this afternoon that I haven't asked you about?
Yeah, I would just encourage folks who are interested in helping our most vulnerable neighbors out there to certainly take an inventory of the existing programs and many of the agencies that are involved in today's effort, but also to think outside of the box. I think we've seen a lot of pioneering solutions from both the county, the city of Charlotte, our nonprofits, and the private sector in the last couple of years to augment rental subsidies in the community. This was a brand new idea that really doesn't have a precedent in the rest of the country, and something that we worked with the county manager with over the summer and ultimately got buy-in from a variety of parties in the fall and looked to put in place in the next couple of months. And so innovative things can happen, and we think this will open the door to for 30% MI families to live in quality NOAAs across the community as it gets unveiled. And so it's something I'd encourage other folks to consider at their properties and on ways to think outside of the box.
All right. Mark Etheridge, Ascent Real Estate Capital, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing and for setting the example, hopefully for others that will follow suit and really take care for our neighbors who are in need of affordable housing. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Now we'd like to share with you all another video.
I was living in motels with my girls after they lost their mother, and I was paying like $300-something a week, staying in the motels, and I would have still been there now.
But we might have had a lease for the first year that we lived there, but we lived there 11 years, so it was just on a handshake and an okay renewed. So the rent had varied a little bit, but not significantly. Then boom.
There were a lot of times where I was getting weak and felt like giving up because I made 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 phone calls trying to get the right resources for a man with children. And they simply would just tell me the same thing.
To us, maybe you would say, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. We have experienced a lot of ups and downs, even though this was a brand new one. And we learned not to be bent out of shape, or we were looking for solutions right away. It was a very easy process for us because we didn't have to go through the rental agents. At the same time, when our friend introduced us to Victoria Johnson, we were looking for a place on our own. So simultaneously, so we really could tell the difference.
It's an organization that is helping people and solving their housing crisis or their housing problem is what the company does, the organization does. But their main goal is helping people, and they helped us greatly.
Just being there for us, because right now, if I think back, if it wasn't for that, where would I be now?
Basically, Socialserve is the equivalent of drowning and someone throw you a lifeline.
Like I tell my girls every time we key in the door, I just tell them, I said, doesn't it feel good? We don't have to all be all up in the motel room, and we got our own finally. It just feels so great. Like when we leave here, just to go home to our own. This year we can set up our own Christmas tree. It's a fantastic thing. I would like for other landlords to partner with CLT, because there are a lot of people that's in the same situation that I'm in, that I was in.
Life is full of unexpected surprises. And when if we're not alone, when we all of a sudden lost our jobs and we lost our business, actually, we ran a small business. So yeah, there are people out there like us. So, and we're used to pay rent, or we used to pay, people lost their homes, but they used to make their mortgages. And all of a sudden they can't, for whatever the reason might be. So with a social service type of program helping them, the landlords are going to get their money guaranteed.
There are a lot of good families out here that's just really looking for a decent place to stay, that will take care of the property, that will do the right thing. They just need the chance, just like I had the chance.
Thank you again for joining us for this virtual Landlord Consortium. I want to thank Erica Bryant for moderating our panel of guests, Deronda, Aaron, and Stephen, and Mark. Thank you all so much for your support. So on behalf of all the partner agencies, we just want to say thank you. During the time of the Landlord Consortium, we randomly select some people that we were donated some gift cards from Ruth Chris. So I just want to read off the names that we actually pulled during this during the panel discussion. So congratulations to Jana Howie from Howie Property Management Company, Felicia Giles with Lofts at NODA, Riley Miller at the Reserve at Providence, and Yessi Cordera with Bottom Line Realty. Congratulations to all our winners. Keep checking your inbox in the next few days and we'll send you out a gift card. I want to thank a few people for also your contributions to this event today. Good Life at Enderley Park, Rucker Roots Hair Care Product Line, False Craft Properties, Scott Wilkinson with Ginkgo Properties, and a special shout out to John and the Wheelhouse Team Media. You all were awesome and I want to thank you so much. We are excited that you are considering becoming a part of this partnership. In the next few days, you will receive a summary of the information that was shared here today. We will continue to answer your questions throughout the day in the chat, so continue to send those questions. You are the key to providing a person a place to call home. Stay safe and mask up.